Welcome to this presentation. My name is Tony Smith and I'm the Deputy Head Teacher at St Ninians High School responsible for upper school. Part of my role is to design the school curriculum, organise the options process and create the timetables to make it all work. During this presentation I would like to outline the options process, recapping what has happened so far and outlining what will happen over the coming months. I'd like to try to provide some advice and guidance on how to make good options choices. And finally, I'd like to spend just a few minutes explaining how to complete the options form. The options process began back in October, when parents were invited to an introduction to Year 9 evening, when I outlined the process. I seem to remember being quite overshadowed, quite rightly, by an excellent student performance. Since then, students have had regular assemblies during which subject leaders have introduced the courses available to them in Key Stage 4. Just after Christmas, an options guidance booklet was issued to all students and more detailed course information has been provided online through our website. Tonight, parents and students have the opportunity to speak directly with subject teachers about the courses and the suitability of those courses for students. Next week, Year 9 Parents' Evening takes place, and although this is primarily an event to talk about progress in Year 9, we fully expect students and parents will take the opportunity to ask any follow-up questions they have thought of. Once students have made their decisions, they need to complete their options form, sign it and return it to Lower School Office by the 15th of March. At this point, all the information is entered into our timetabling software and I spend the next month or so modelling different ways to provide the best curriculum model for as many students as possible. During April and May, I will speak to those individual students whose options choices are not straightforward and those who may need to use one of their alternative or reserve choices. By June, a draft document should be sent home with the final timetable for Year 10 confirmed in July. As you can see, this is a lengthy and extremely complex process. We can make significant resources into trying to make it as successful as possible and as an individual as possible. But that said, it's inevitable that several of you will be disappointed along the way, and believe me, if I could avoid it, I would. So how do you ensure you're making good choices? Those students who make the best choices are the students who have considered three core principles. They've thought about themselves, what inspires them, what sorts of learning activities do they enjoy, what sorts of assessment tasks do they do best in. Are they good at self-directed learning? Do they like working in groups? What are they interested in? They've spent time understanding the options available to them. They've researched the courses, what the courses are about, what will be covered and how they're assessed. And they know the sorts of commitments that are required to do well. But perhaps most importantly, they have thought about their future. They've thought about what they might like to do when they get older. This could be a really clear ambition, or it could be a general goal, or maybe just a list of things they definitely don't want to do, but they've thought about their future and their journey. The term career used to indicate a destination or predefined path. A career was something that people did for the rest of their lives. A common question might have been, what career are you thinking of? These days, it's expected that people are going to change their jobs much more regularly. We know that jobs that don't even exist yet will appear in the future, and probably some traditional roles will disappear completely as our economy changes. These days, the word career signifies a journey during which a person will develop their skills and their knowledge. They will use the skills and knowledge from one step in their journey to add value in the next step of their journey. Everyone's journey is unique and requires dozens, if not hundreds, of decisions to be made. And no two people have the same career journey. And in today's world, it's recognised that all life experiences contribute to your career. Being a parent, travelling, facing up to challenges, part-time jobs as well as full-time jobs all contribute to the ever-increasing toolbox of skills and knowledge that you will take with you on your journey. Your journey begins now, with the first decision you're faced with: what to study, what to gain your first qualifications in. Now, to help you consider your options, I want to talk very briefly about decisions that you will face in 2 years' time, the second step of your journey. In 2 years' time, you'll be making a much more fundamental choice. You will finish compulsory education and you'll have to make one of two basic choices: continue with full-time education, that would be the Isle of Man College or sixth form, or go into employment, either full-time employment or via an apprenticeship scheme, that involves a mix of work and training at college. For those of you considering going into employment after finishing school, and based on the previous few years' data across the Isle of Man, that means about 15% of you, there are going to be a few things worth considering. First of all, there's actually very few full-time employment opportunities for 16-year-olds. Given the choice, most employers tend to go with the older applicant, and with the current economic situation, there is more competition than ever for every job out there. Getting an apprenticeship is your best option, and that said, I'm afraid to say that competition here is also fierce. There is also limited places, and you will be in competition with school leavers from across the island, as well as previous school leavers who can also apply. To be successful, your focus needs to be around developing those work-ready skills that are valued by employers: written and oral communication skills, problem-solving skills, enthusiasm, motivation, the ability to work unsupervised. So consider vocational qualifications and pre-vocational qualifications, those subjects that develop these skills and bring you into contact with the wider community and employers. I'd also recommend that you have at least one backup plan in case you can't access what you'd like. So consider how you might achieve grades for further education too. The vast majority of students continue with full-time education. That's about 90% of you. So the majority of you will either go to the Isle of Man College to study or will apply to our sixth form or sixth forms in another school. College is traditionally the place to study more vocational subjects, those subjects that are designed to prepare you to begin work in a specific sector. They develop the necessary skills that are valued by employers in that sector. Sixth form is traditionally the place to study more academic subjects, subjects that do not directly relate to a job or a sector, but focus on broader, transferable skills developed by studying a subject in more depth. Again, I would highly recommend that students with this route in mind have a backup plan in case your journey is not as smooth as you'd like it to be. Okay, so back to making your Key Stage 4 options, your first step. Based on student and parent feedback from previous years, the vast majority of you will fit into three broad categories. If you already have a career path in mind, or you know what sector you intend to choose, then choose those subjects that you know will help you achieve your goals. To do this, you will have needed to have carried out some research. If you haven't already done this, you should be speaking to relevant people and going online, asking questions and listening to as much advice as possible. Remember, it's not only the destination that's important, but also the route that you're going to take to get there. And there's always more than one way to get to your destination. Have at least one backup plan that you can use if your preferred route is blocked. I think it's worth pointing out at this point the importance of English and Maths. If you go into the sixth form, a C grade in English and Maths is a must. The college also wants C grades. They do offer courses that don't require English at C grade, but in order to enrol, you have to resit your English alongside your studies. Employers are also keen on seeing English and Maths qualifications, and it certainly makes a difference between two applicants if one offers English and Maths. If you're unsure of your career path, or you don't know what sector you would like to work in, then don't worry. I'd imagine that's the majority of you at the moment. The chances are you're going to try to keep your options open. What you should be trying to do is achieve the best grades you can. The better the grade profile, the more options you'll have post-16. So pick subjects you're likely to do well in, the ones that match your learning style, the subjects whose type of assessment is most appealing. Do you have to complete large amounts of coursework in your own time? Do you have lots of new information to learn? Do you like to work in groups? Consider taking some facilitating subjects. These are listed in your guidance booklet. They are the subjects that universities identify as good general courses that will enable you to access the widest number of courses at university. They're not the be-all and end-all, but having some could be useful if you do not know what to do in the future. Again, Maths and English are critical. And finally, if you already know that you want to go to university, then you really have to achieve the highest GCSE grades, A stars, A's and B's in your chosen area of study. Again, the facilitating subjects are also important, but balance this with your passions and what you're likely to go on to study in more depth at university. Once again, English and Maths are important, but now you really should be thinking of B grades or better. Some universities even stipulate a B grade in English GCSE for some courses. So, based on these three categories, I'm going to suggest three different routes. Three broad routes to give some idea of the sorts of options choices you might want to consider. Remember, we're all individuals, so they're just guides. So if you're looking to keep your options open, try to choose a mixture of subjects with a view to develop a wide variety of skills. Choose subjects that are likely to lead to success. Don't just pick those that sound good or you think the ones that have more kudos. And if you have a passion, definitely choose that. Vocation and pre-vocational subjects will develop work-related skills. Facilitating subjects will give you a good academic grounding that should maximise your educational options at post-16. If you know what you want to do, then choose subjects which are most appropriate for your chosen path. This could be an academic style pathway or a vocational style pathway. And with any spare options, try to balance up your choices to maximise your choices post-16 in case things go better or worse than expected. If in doubt, facilitating subjects are really useful. Now, if you have high academic aspirations, then your choices at GCSE are actually quite important. If you have thoughts of studying to become a doctor or a lawyer or a similar profession, or if you dream of studying at Oxford and Cambridge, then you need to consider choosing the following mixture of options. They're not essential, but they are recommended. You should think at studying at least one language, at least one from either English literature, geography or history, and at least one from biology, chemistry, physics or computer science. So once you've carried out all your research, thought about your career journey and considered which subjects you're likely to excel doing, you just need to complete the form. You need to make a total of 6 choices, and at least one of them must be a science option, and at least one of them must be a computing option. The remaining 4 can be whatever you want them to be, including more science and more computing. Write a science option for me in choice number 1 and a computing option in choice number 2, and then the remaining options in the preference order, with number 3 being your choice you really want to do, going down to number 6 being the choice that you'd be most willing to compromise on if necessary. Then I'd like you to add 2 reserve or alternative choices. These should be subjects that you would be willing to study. I'm sorry to say that even with the best will in the world, trying to give nearly 200 students exactly what they want, with the staffing, resource and time limitations that exist, mean that it's highly likely that many of you will have to make a compromise. The deadline for options form to be returned is the 15th of March. Before that date, forms will not be processed, and all forms handed in will be treated equally. Choices handed in late will be processed, but in the event of a course being full, alternative choices may have to be used. So finally, in conclusion, if you haven't done so already, reflect on your own skills, your abilities and your passions. Make sure you understand the expectations and demands of each option and think about your future. When you're making choices, make the right ones for you because you are on an individual journey. If you already have a goal, make sure you've got a backup plan because you never know. Thank you for listening and I hope you found this presentation useful.